Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Dev, aka the Unknown Variable here, back at you with another commentary. And today I have a special guest on the channel. This is my boy Orion. Welcome to the channel, Orion. Introduce yourself to all my viewers.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on for this dual commentary of yours. And I've been waiting to do a video like this for a long time and basically hash out all our thoughts on the world of Call of Duty right now, which is obviously a franchise that we were both very passionate about. And we're kind of gonna just talk about some of the more recent topics of discussion that have been happening with Call of Duty, and kind of hash it out and discuss. And listen, I'm passionate about this franchise, and there's certainly a lot to talk about with regards to a lot of the different news that has come out recently with regards to the Call of Duty clients, the Microsoft acquisition, and so much more. So, listen, man, I'm ready to get right into this. So let's get right to it.
All right, so it's likewise. Welcome to the channel. It's been a while. We've spoken on Discord quite a few times and, through text and stuff. Today's the first time we're actually speaking. So today's first point is going to be the XLABS and SM2 shutdown. Now, I know everybody watching this video is probably like, oh, Dev's making another video on the XLABS and SM2 shutdown. But today we need to talk about, is there a possible plutonium shutdown coming on the way? How do you feel about that, Orion?
I I certainly think it's possible, although because of the recent news that has come out from Plutonium themselves, talking about how now it is now officially required that you actually buy the games under Plutonium. So of course, with the several number of games that are under their watch, so like Black Ops 2, for example, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 1, you now actually have to buy the game. You can't just do the whole, torrent and download it for free. You can't do that anymore. So maybe there is a chance that with that recent news, maybe Activision will see that and maybe hold back on filing that cease and desist letter. Because of course I've actually made a video about this already. When SM2 got shut down, I made a video about it and I talked about the nature behind what a cease and desist order versus a cease and desist letter is. So if you're somebody who has any research and knowledge about what that is with regards to the law, basically a cease and desist letter is filed that you have to stop the activity that you're doing legally because they believe that you're doing some form of illegal activity. Although with a letter, that doesn't necessarily mean that in the off time you can't actually just continuously keep working on that activity. With an order, with a cease and desist order, you literally have to just stop everything you're doing. You can't do anything at all. So basically, if plutonium were to be filed under that cease and desist letter, they'll have to stop all their operations. They can't do anything. So I am more reliant to think that plutonium, considering how big it is and the fact that it is the biggest Call of Duty client out of any of the other ones that have been mentioned, whether that is SM2. Granted, SM2 probably would have been the biggest one if it were to have come out in the future. Of
Definitely
course,
agree
we'll
with
never
that,
see
yeah.
the yeah, we'll never obviously see that happen, unfortunately, now, but like with regards to XLABS and so on, like plutonium is the biggest one right now. That's like currently live for people to play on. So I think like to answer your question, do I believe that right now Activision and all the corporate suits over there that they're currently working their best time to work on this cease and desist letter to file towards plutonium? I think they probably are. I think they're having discussions about it because, I mean, they've already taken down the others as it is. So like, there's no reason to say that they wouldn't be having discussions about plutonium. It's like it would feel very. I think it would feel very dishonest from Activision to say that, oh, they would only take down the other clients, but not plutonium, and they wouldn't have discussions about it. I think that would be a little weird, especially considering plutonium is following some of the same practices that some of the other clients were talking about with regards to whether it is that you download the game or you don't buy the game in order to play plutonium. So I'm not exactly sure. I think they definitely are having the conversations. But I think the bigger question, though, Dev, is to really talk about what could happen if plutonium were taken down. So I feel like we should honestly discuss that. So, like in your mind, what do you think will happen if plutonium does get taken down?
I mean, one of the things I find extremely interesting about if plutonium gets shut down is the simple fact that there's no really like any way to go back to the older games. If you're somebody like me or you that enjoys the old school like OG Call of Duty games, what do you really go back to? Because that's one of the things that I really wanted to discuss is the current security issues when it comes to at least somebody who's on PC. The
Right,
you
right.
have the rat exploits, which are basically a game code exploit that allows you to access personal information on somebody's computer. I know I've spoken about this previously on the channel, but you have things like rat exploits that basically make it so they can steal your credit card information, they can steal autofill tabs from your web browser, they can steal email accounts. I know I read a story of a guy saying that somebody emailed some pretty bad stuff to his boss, so he ended up losing his job over it. Um,
Oh, that sucks.
so yeah, there's a lot of nefarious things you can do, and with the Call of Duty community, a lot of people tend to get extremely angry and tilted very easily. So if you're playing
Absolutely.
somebody in these games, it might not affect console so much, but I'm just more so speaking on PC players because that's something I guess I have more experience with. But
Hmm.
there's not really a safe place to go back and play those games. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things that concerns me regarding, a potential shutdown of Plutonium. Just you won't be able to play these games like you would before. I know Call of Duty's
Hmm.
changed a lot within the last few years, but if you go back and want to play those old games, there's not really much you can do to do that. You're going to be playing, these hacked versions if you're on console, and you're going to also be
Yep.
playing these, potential security risk versions on PC
Hmm.
where you could steal and mess around with people's lives, social
Yeah.
insurance numbers, stuff like that. And I don't know, like I really hope that it doesn't get taken down, but that's kind of the situation we're facing if it does get taken down.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that was a perfect segue into this topic of conversation with, again, obviously the recent news that has come out with regards to what has been shown in the last several days, which is the fact that old school CODs, at least a lot of the more older COD games that like, games like Black Ops 2, Cold War. Cold War is I think the biggest one because at least from what I've seen, Cold War is at least the most recent old COD game that is being affected by this the most. And there's this notion that people are going onto the games and like kicking people off and like getting into their personal information. It's really damaging to the IP that is Call of Duty, and especially it is damaging under the name of Activision because of course they're the ones who control it, and they haven't said a thing about it. And I'm not surprised by that in the slightest because as somebody who does follow all their posts on social media in particular, they clearly seem to not care because if they did care, they wouldn't be posting every single day about some stupid bundle that is going into their store that nobody cares about. And it just it doesn't blow my mind, but it also doesn't surprise me that they are doing this because as something that is such a massive security risk, that should be the number one thing that you are addressing with regards to your franchise. And granted, I'll say this, Dev, because I think one of the things that might play into the reason why they're not addressing it as quickly as they are is because it's not their current game right now. Modern Warfare 2 is their current game. That's not the one that's facing these issues, at least for the most part. It's all their older titles that they do not give a crap about. They don't care about Black Ops 2 anymore. They don't care about Black Ops Cold War anymore. They don't care about any of these old titles anymore because they're not updating them. They're not working on them. It's not their main focus and it's not their main priority.
Doesn't
So
generate them revenue either. So that's another thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's not where their store. It's not where their stupid store bundles are, where they're uploading the skins and the bundles. It's it's sad. It honestly is sad. And I remember seeing some form of news like a month ago that they were putting some big update out to Black Ops 3 to help with some issues in that game. But even that was a lie because it did nothing because again, people if people have been following what's been happening within the last several years with regards to Activision and how they've been treating the fans and the Call of Duty community, they simply just don't care about these issues. They don't care about old Call of Duty anymore. And as somebody myself who has been playing old Call of Duty for years now because of the fact that I simply just haven't bought the last like 3 or 4 games, I'm also somebody who's experiencing this. Like just the other day, I was playing Black Ops 2. I was playing Diner Turned, which is something that I do on my own personal channel, which you guys should all definitely go and check out. Um, I'm somebody who's currently playing a series where I am moving up the leaderboards in the mode turned on the map Diner in Black Ops 2 Zombies, and I was playing a game and I got booted offline at the very end of the game because I was winning and some loser hacker came in and booted me off. And that's the kind of shit that people are experiencing nowadays with regards to all these security issues. So again, this is something that we have to talk about. It's something that needs to be addressed in the COD community right now. So I'm really glad that we're having this conversation, Deb, because It stresses me out, man. It stresses me out that we can't even play these old games that should be cherished. Games that brought this franchise to what it is and have made me really love it for being my favorite first person shooter franchise ever. I've been playing COD for 10 plus years now. I've played every single game minus the original two, Call of Duty 1 and Call of Duty 2. Um, this franchise is near and dear to my heart, and I can't believe it's going down the direction that it is right now. I really can't.
I 100% agree with you. One thing I did want to mention in this video that I think we
Mhm.
forgot to mention, or possibly, maybe not, I don't know. But either way, the XLABS and SM2 shutdown, right? One of the
Yes.
arguments that I hear from a lot of my community and just people that I see in the comment sections is that Activision had every legal right to shut down these clients, right? And I think
Right.
we can both agree on that, right?
To some extent, yes.
Yeah, okay. So they do have the legal right to do that, but the real question is, do you think that Activision is kind of in the wrong or doing some illegal activity regarding these old school COD games, whether that be on the Xbox Store or Steam, regarding false advertisement? Because as I've stated in previous videos here on the channel, false advertisement can be anything from outright lying to deceptive business practices. And I think that, selling these games at full price, whether that, like any of the old school CODs like Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, falls into false advertisement. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I mean, this is a really good topic of conversation to have because as somebody who is actually currently studying marketing, for his schooling right now, I think you're absolutely correct when you ask the question about whether it is false advertising or not. Because when you market a game the way that they've been marketing it for years now, to the point where they'll say that like, oh, it's a finished game, it's a finished title, we're releasing it in a finished state where there's no problems and all that kind of stuff. But then you see to a point that a lot of these games, especially the old ones, and they're selling them for full price, like $60 still, which is crazy. These games should not be, the old COD titles should not be sold for $60 anymore. That is ridiculous. And to your point, because of the fact that they have all these different security issues, that should definitely fall under an illegal notion of what is false advertising. When you say that these games are totally fine and you don't even address the issues themselves, who have all these different security issues, you really are going to potentially put yourself in a position to where you are falling under and falling under in a state of illegal activity. And morally too, because again, morals do play a big part in this. When you look at the decision to file cease and desist for, obviously illegal activity, because I think, again, like you said, we could probably to some degree agree that, these different Call of Duty clients were doing certain things not in the legal sense. But again, morally, on Activision's part, it doesn't look good for them because, like you said, they do illegal stuff as well. They're not the only ones who do this kind of thing. Whether it be some of the examples that we've seen in recent years, whether it be the example, one of the more recent examples, which is the fact that they basically stole and copied a skin that's going to be coming to Dr. Disrespect's new game, Dead Drop, and they essentially ported it in to their new game. And it basically looks like the same thing. They didn't even try. And that's a competition for them. And so they really thought that they tried hard to do something different there. And it's like, nah, you really did get caught with that one. Or whether it's something back into something like Cold War, where they almost semi copied a prestige emblem from a show called Sons of Anarchy, or even to the point where they copied another skin for basically taking the likeness and personality of a popular streamer. And, they do illegal stuff all the time. And so, to your point, this idea and this notion about false advertising with regards to these old games and how they have basically lost any merit of their security and privacy too, because privacy also does play into this as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I would say for most of the time, at least for most of these games, that is a problem, and they should be looked at heavily with regards to how the law works. Because again, we can probably agree that those clients weren't doing everything right, but it's all about morals as well. And morally, I think Activision are really shooting themselves here in the foot because they don't look good here either for this.
No, completely agree. I thought I had a good point with the false advertisement, but you know how some people can be in the comment sections of YouTube videos. You had a lot of people saying they're stealing assets and such. You know, it's like, okay, I'm not arguing that point. I completely agree they are
Yeah,
stealing assets and that is illegal. They should not be doing that. But at the same
yeah,
time, you also shouldn't be selling a game for full price and then, marketing it as a fully functional game that actually could potentially expose you to these risks that aren't deemed, public by the developer or even the
yeah,
publisher of the game, because there's a lot of people. I
yeah.
start to think of the people that, let's say you're somebody who has a PC and you want to play or like a plutonium like game, like XLABS had the IW4X, which is extremely similar to plutonium. Let's say you
Right.
have like a low spec PC and you want to play XLABS, and well, I shouldn't say XLabs, but let's say you have a low spec PC and you want to play the old school Call of Duty games. That's what I should say. So like Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 3. And you buy
Right.
these games on Steam and you load them up, whatever, and you find an online match, even though there's not a lot of people playing. And
Hmm.
you beat somebody, you're a good player, whatever, and all of a sudden your credit card information is stolen. And you have no idea that this is even happening because you're unaware of the exploit. And then next thing you know, you open up your banking app or whatever, and you start to see that there's transactions taken out because somebody stole your autofill information from your web browser. I don't know. I just start to
Right.
look at something like that. If you're somebody who wants to play those old games and you're not even made aware of these
Hmm.
problems and it's being advertised, like I said, as a full-fledged game and it doesn't function
Right.
properly, it's one of those things that you could ruin people's lives. So I do have a final point here that I want to
Hmm.
mention, and I want to get your opinion on it before we close out the video. And that simple question is, do you think Microsoft potentially buying Activision would be good for the Call of Duty series as a whole?
Well, to give you a pretty straight to the point answer on this one, I don't know how it could possibly get any worse. And I think you've probably heard some people say that with regards to the quality of some of the more recent games. Like, I remember how we got Call of Duty Vanguard, and everybody said this is the worst COD game we've ever had, and people were shouting to the high heavens like, "There's no way it could possibly get any worse, right?" Well, guess what? We got Modern Warfare 2, and that game is arguably worse or on the same level of the quality of Vanguard. It's not a good game. And I can definitely say that also with regards to answering your question of could it get better for Call of Duty and this franchise if Microsoft were to take it over? Again, I honestly don't know how it could get possibly worse. I actually do think there would be some benefit to it because, at least from what I've seen, I have not done enough research into Microsoft to really see if they are the type of company that is as greedy as Activision is, as not as transparent as Activision is with regards to communicating to their fans and all that, and putting out good quality games. I think Activision would at least potentially come in and remove some of the bad variables that are inside of the company right now and that are ruining this franchise. Um, I can't say that they would do everything right because, again, not every company is perfect. I think we can definitely agree on that. Not every single
Yeah,
company
I
is
agree.
perfect, especially even the big name ones, like it's either Microsoft or it's Sony with regards to PlayStation, or even Nintendo, which are obviously the three big boys of the gaming world. Those three dominate more than anyone. And so nobody's perfect, but I definitely think Microsoft, at least, with regards to this acquisition, I think they can definitely add more to it than what's already going on now as it is. Um, and I also think that Microsoft has a much better CEO in Phil Spencer than with what Activision's going right now with Bobby Kotick. Bobby Kotick he's a sleazy dude. He's not a good guy.
He
He's done a
looks
lot of
greasy.
really
Just
bad stuff.
if you guys
Yeah,
haven't, look up a picture of Bobby Kotick. He looks greasy as
yeah.
hell. Anyway, I didn't mean to
He
cut
he
you off. I
looks
just needed to say that.
no, yeah, no, it's all good. I mean, he looks like your typical billionaire too, because the guy's rich. He's probably going to get a nice golden parachute. If Microsoft takes over and he gets laid off and he's removed as CEO, he's probably gonna get a nice golden parachute. For those who know what a golden parachute is, it's a lot of money basically is what he's gonna receive. So I am hoping for the best. Obviously, we know that the acquisition is currently in its stages right now of seeing where it goes with regards to the UK and the US. I think pretty much in every region around the world, at least from a major perspective, minus the UK and the US, it has gone through. So now we're just waiting on those two regions to basically talk through with Activision and with Microsoft to see if they really want this thing to go through because I I remember a while back when this news was first announced that they said that if the acquisition did go through, that Microsoft would have had control of Activision by June 23rd of this year. Well, guess what? We're 20 days away from that, and there is no shot that that is going to happen now. So if Microsoft does get control of Activision, I imagine it's probably not going to happen at least for another year or so. Again, I don't know all the specifics behind this acquisition, but it's going to be a little longer before we see Microsoft take control of the company. And regarding how many games that we go through before that happens, of course, we know we're getting another Modern Warfare game from Sledgehammer Games. So that's probably going to be, at least from what we're looking at right now, the actual last COD game we're getting under this current leadership of Activision, which sucks. I wish we didn't have to get another one under this company,
Yeah,
but
you and me both.
I mean, hey, we'll just have to see. And listen, with what they've been doing recently with regards to these clients and some of the just terrible practices that they've been under, I don't, again, I haven't been trusting them for a long time. I haven't gotten any of the last 3 or 4 games, whether that be Cold War, Vanguard, or Modern Warfare 2. I mean, I've played them through the free weekends, but I haven't bothered. I'm not putting $60 to $70 into these games. And so we'll just see. And so I know for a lot of people, to basically give my last point here, because I know one of the main talking points was about plutonium. If plutonium goes, I think it would definitely be devastating, because that is, in fact, the last safe space that people have to play those old titles, and those old titles that people appreciate the most because they are the best that this franchise has ever offered. And so, from a marketing perspective, it's not a good look for Activision to do something like that. So, if they were smart, they would try and maybe talk to Plutonium and make them do something, like maybe do something certain with regards to how
Work
it
with
is
them
with regards,
potentially.
work with them. Talk to them on how they can change certain things around so that they don't have to take down their client, which is what they probably should have done with the other clients in the first place. But hey, guess what? Activision has to be greedy. So what can I do? You know?
Yeah, it's true. And another thing before we end this, you could look at something like SM2, right? And the way Activision kind of took the route of just shutting it right down. Uh, you know, you see all of the hype around that. There was like 30 or 40,000 people in the Discord at one point.
Yeah.
Activision could have very easily, said, we're just going to take this over rather than shut it
Hmm.
down, which I think could
Yeah.
have been something that they could have. I mean, it's Activision. They probably find a way to mess it up. But either way,
Yeah.
imagine if they would have taken the route of, okay, we'll take whatever you've built already and we'll send a small team of developers to work on that and release SM2 under Activision's name. And then they could put whatever they
Yeah.
need to put in it, store bundles, whatever the hell. They would probably ruin it. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
they didn't need to completely shut it down. They could
Mhm.
have worked with them or potentially even taken over the project themselves. But it is Activision,
Yeah.
and like you said, you never know with them. For my point on if I think Microsoft is good for Call of Duty, I'm unsure, to be completely honest with you, because it just kind of seems like one mega corporation taking over another mega corporation. So,
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not too well versed in, Microsoft as a company, but all I can think of is Halo, for example. That series has
Yeah.
been bad for a while, and that's under, if I'm not mistaken, I think Microsoft still owns the rights to it.
Yeah, they
So,
still own it, but obviously, like 343 as the main developer of that game too, it's like they also have their own issues internally. It's like I'm sure if Bungie was still making Halo under Microsoft's name, Bungie might be having much better off time making the game, because if you look at what they've been doing with Destiny, Destiny's been a lot more consistent than what Halo's been going for in the last several years. And so Halo Infinite just it did not have a good launch. It did not have a good, steady, consistent stream of content to come for the game for people to play. And so, Halo and COD are basically in the same spot. But I wish I knew a lot more about the whole Halo situation, because obviously you know me, like I am a lot more into Call of Duty than I am Halo, even though I do love Halo. So I can't speak to the entire situation of the Halo scene more than I can for Call of Duty.
yeah, and I'm the same way. I'm not really too well versed in the Halo scene. I just kind of use that as an example, perhaps, I guess you could say, for if I think
Right.
it's good
Yeah.
or not. I guess time will tell if the deal does go through. Like you said earlier, I don't think it could get any worse than it is right now. So
I would certainly hope not. No.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
think it will. But That's just me personally. But yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything today. So this new series on the channel is going to be called COD Talk. This is where we speak over, various news things that are going on in the Call of Duty community. This won't be the last time we do this. I don't know about you, Orion, but I really enjoyed myself today.
Yeah, man, me too. This was a lot of fun. I enjoy having these talks with people, and it's always good to have conversations too, because I think conversations breathe results. Especially if we can have good, reasonable um talks about it as well. Like if we're hashing out our criticisms in a more reasonable manner, and we're not like, we're not bashing anybody, because listen, I know we both know this well enough. Like there's a whole, good portion of COD YouTubers out there who make it a goal to feel like that it's better to get mad about things and like yell at the sky when making videos and all that. And it's like, for me personally, I get why they do that, because in a way it makes them come off as seeming more reasonable with what they're talking about. But I think with you and me both, when we're talking about this, I like to have these conversations and make it feel more authentic. And I'm not saying what they're doing is not authentic, but in a way, when you look at how other certain people do it, it makes it come off as if they're just in it more for the ability to get just, I don't know, mad. They're like be more like grifty. Like I'm not saying that they're grifters in any way, because in a way it does get good views, but like in my opinion, I like the good concise conversation, and I think we just hashed that out for this first live dual com. So again, I really appreciate you having me on, and I can't wait to do this more, because again, I do enjoy doing this, and Call of Duty is a big passion for me. I grew up on it, and I want to see it get better in the future. So here's to the future.
Yeah, well, it was great having you on the channel. I hope everybody that's watching this video enjoyed today. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, smash the notification bell so you never miss when I upload a video, subscribe, and all that wonderful stuff. And I catch everybody in the next one.